Most women never see the muscle definition that they want. And if you're in the gym, say 3 to 5 times a week, you're there week in, week out consistently, but you still don't see the tone that you want. You feel like your body hasn't changed in years. You still feel squishy instead of strong and toned, then there is a reason for that. And it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you need to push harder. And it's not because the gym just doesn't work for you. But it will be because your plan fucking sucks and your systems and your structure need help. So let's break down exactly what you need to change in the gym specifically in order to start seeing those results and see that progress so you actually look like you train. If you're training to sweat and not actually training with structure, then that's gonna be problem number one, because most women will do the right looking exercises. They'll do hip thrusts, they'll do squats, they'll do lunges, but often they're not doing them in the right way to actually see any sort of progress, because the structure of your sessions actually matters more than just the exercises alone do. So the way that you want to set up your training is starting with your heaviest, biggest lifts first. So I want you to start with what's called compound lifts. So let's think deadlifts, squats, hip thrusts, those ones that you know are going to require the most energy and the most effort. We want to be able to hit them as hard and most efficiently as possible so you can be recruiting as much strength as needed to hit them hard. So you always start with those, and any given session you only really want 1 to 2 compound lifts at the beginning. Then we taper into more isolation work. So that's when you don't necessarily drop your training intensity, but often you're working those smaller muscle groups. You're getting a little bit more targeted with it, and it's a little bit easier to perform essentially than something like a compound lift in terms of the energy that it's going to require you to do. So start with compound, then work into isolation. The next thing you're probably fucking up is your rep range, because I'm telling you now that doing every single exercise with 12 to 15 reps and chasing that burn is going to do absolutely fuck all for things like your glute growth or your muscle definition, because what you want to be doing is hitting a smaller targeted rep range that's going to lead to hypertrophy, which is that muscle growth that you're wanting to see. So we start with, say, compound lifts, 8 to 10 rep ranges maximum. Then when we're working into more isolation work, you can stick around that 8 to 10, or you can taper into a 10 to 12 rep range, which is really ideal for seeing muscle growth. Not 12 to 15. You very, very rarely need to go that high, because quite often you're going to have to go really low weights in order to hit that rep range. And really low weights and really high reps, unfortunately, does not lead to you building muscle tone in any capacity. You're also very likely constantly changing your exercises almost every single time that you go into the gym. And your body needs consistency in its training stimulus in order to adapt and progress week on week. And in order for you to actually progressively overload and gradually increase the weights that you're using. So instead of switching your sessions and your exercises so frequently, I want you to stick to the same training block for 4 to 6 weeks at a time before you change anything. That's going to allow you to progress week on week and build that stimulus up before you then switch it out. This is going to help your muscles actually understand what the hell is going on when you train. And the next one is that you are underestimating recovery, because I tell you now, I probably train less than you do, and I probably have more muscle mass than you do. And that's because it comes down to quality in your sessions, not just quantity alone. If you are hitting the gym with 5 to 6, even more than that, sessions per week, then you are going in under-recovered consistently, where your body is not able to adapt enough to then go in for that next session. So you're constantly under-recovered and then compounding on top of that. So you cannot expect to make any level of progress under those conditions. Instead, you should be hitting 3 to 4 quality sessions in a week. And I'm talking quality where you earn those rest days. Then when you go back into the gym after your rest days, you're going to be fully recovered. You're ready to go again. You can push to the same capacity again before then having that next rest day, because the intensity really does matter when it comes to building that lean muscle, that hourglass shape, juicy glutes, whatever the hell it might be. you need that intensity there. So it is 100% more down to quality over quantity when it comes to your training. And this is a little bit of a hard pill to swallow because a lot of women want to strength train, start becoming a hybrid athlete and run. They want to join a netball club. They want to start doing swim squad. And all of these other things are still added stress and intensity on your body. So when you look at your week as a whole, you're probably not even giving yourself a full rest day when it really comes down to it. So at least give yourself one full rest day a week and one active recovery day in there that can be something like a Pilates or a yoga class or a recovery swim, for example, but it must be light recovery focused, not full intensity across the week. And the very last one to consider with your training is something called progressive overload. Now, this is the gradual increase of your weights week on week, because you should not be lifting the exact same weight for the exact same reps week on week. That's just going to lead to a plateau in your training stimulus and therefore your results. So every week, aim to increase just a little bit, whether that is an extra rep or whether that is an increase in weight. Once you do increase that weight, then you should be staying with it until you hit your programmed rep range. Then once you hit it for all of your sets, you can increase that weight a little more. So every week it's one or the other, either weight or reps are increasing. You're constantly putting that stimulus up for your body. So it's just adapting that little bit. It becomes like a set of stairs to reach the top where you've basically capped out on any adaptations that it can make. Then you bring a new stimulus in with your next training block. So yes, at the end of the day, it is far more important, I guess, and there's far more depth to it than just going to the gym alone, because getting yourself in the door and going to the gym is a great starting point. But if you don't have the right structure, programming and systems behind you, then you could possibly be wasting your time week on week, day in and day out, and ending up frustrated, wondering why you're not seeing those results. If you want help with your training and you want to make sure that what you're doing in the gym is actually progressing you towards your goals, then this is exactly what I do inside Refine. And if you want to have a chat about whether that even aligns for you, even aligns for your goals, then jump over to my Instagram, pop into my DMs. I am more than happy to have a chat with you about where you're at in terms of what you're actually wanting to achieve with body composition and health, and what your training currently looks like, so we can start to recognize some of those gaps for you. I will see you in the next video.